Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Yes. So
I just chuckle every time you say that.
And happiness. It just happened naturally.
Yeah, and then it gets longer and longer.
True. It depends on the mood I'm in. Sometimes it's pretty quick.
So that's grumpy. Like the litmus test of how's the podcast?
It's going to be
health and happiness. Listen.
Yeah, basically. So this is podcast 2043. Meredith is here.
What?
This is a 2024. Yeah.
That's the number?
Contest prep. No, I just said 2024 really weird.
Oh. Okay.
So this is the year 2024.
Okay.
And we are discussing your contest prep. Yes. And we are 21 weeks out.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so we're off to a smooth start.
Yep.
So what was any overarching thoughts for this week? Good week, bad week, tough week, easy week?
Good week.
Did you cry at all this week related to the diet?
No.
Good.
I did not. No. It is interesting because it was school week.
Yes.
So it was work and school.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the long work days.
Yeah.
So it was a lot to balance between all of that and travel.
Like spinning plates on sticks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Started tracking steps, got back on the scale, but we didn't bring the scale with us.
No. So we got only 1 week measurement this week. And we are using weight as a data point to track and see what's happening. Mm-hmm. We talked about last week that weight actually went up initially.
Right.
And we said that that's kind of normal when you start increasing total volume in training, weight training. You get more glycogen, more water storage, all these kind of responses. Yeah. But this week we noticed the weight did drop back down. So when we did weigh in earlier in the week, you had dropped quite a bit of weight. It was like 5 pounds of water weight.
6 pounds.
6 pounds. Yes, that's right. 6
pounds
of water weight.
Yep.
Yes.
And it was like, okay, yes.
Yeah.
6 pounds.
The body's normalized now from the initial start.
Accepting the stress, as you say.
That's right. You said you were going to fire me last time.
No, but I did. I said it, but I didn't mean what I said.
No, it was a joke, yes. So, because we've talked about clients, they'll go down in 2 pant sizes, but they're up 7 pounds.
Right.
So if they had looked at just the scale, they would have fired us a long time ago.
I got asked today if I had to weigh in at a special weight, and I said no, it's a looks competition basically.
Yes.
So weight doesn't matter, and they found that fascinating.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. You get judged on appearance, so
it doesn't matter what
oftentimes people will judge diet progress on weight goals when actually they really just want to look better.
Silliness.
But it's hard to put a unit of measurement to look.
You have to be okay with, I'm going to like how I look and how I feel, and if that's the number, I'm okay with the number.
Yes.
You need to baseline, or it's a good idea to reset how you view a number.
And I do think that's very important, and generally speaking, with all the clients we work with, it is more important for females than males. Males tend to concern themselves more with how they look, and whatever they weigh, they weigh. Mm-hmm. Women tend to pick a number, and I will not be happy until I weigh this number.
Yes.
And they don't necessarily put the look ahead of that number. Mm-hmm. So they might weigh 135, feel and look amazing, but they're like, well, I remember in high school I was in the 120s, so I'm not going to be happy until I'm in the 120s. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, aren't you happy with how you look? Like you just said you're happy with how you look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember, for instance, I have my dad's build. I have no doubt. I have the Whitman build. And I remember, I don't know how my mom at one point knew I was 140 pounds or 140 something.
Okay.
And she said, wow, I weighed that when I was 9 months pregnant.
I'm sure that was wonderful to hear.
And she was like, she's a few inches taller than me, and I thought, that doesn't feel very good.
No.
What am I supposed to do with that information?
Yes.
But
not a high EQ statement, yeah.
Yeah. But I looked okay, but I remember thinking, am I heavy? Do I weigh too much?
Mm-hmm. In your past histories of fluctuations and whatnot, do you have a body weight that you're like, man, I looked really good then, but it surprised you at how much you weighed?
Yeah, about 6 weeks before I got on stage.
Mm-hmm.
I loved how I looked, but I was about 136 pounds.
Okay.
That's
Was that too heavy to you? Was that heavy for you? Or what did you think of 136?
it felt high to me
Okay.
because when I was running, I was very thin, and I don't know. I remember being less than that. And I also remember when I was a size 0 prior to that, I was 88 pounds.
Oh, good gosh. Okay.
So 88 pounds versus 134 pounds.
Yeah, it feels
a little
enormous.
Yeah.
Weight-wise, yes. But you said you really liked the way you looked at 138.
I liked the way I looked at like the 130 something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was a few weeks before the show. So I wasn't completely dried out and
Like
veiny
gaunt and
and crazy
Skeletor,
and like super diet face.
Yeah.
I liked the way I look. I liked all
Okay.
the bumps on my back and my
Yeah.
small waist. Loved how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's good for a lot of people to hear, males and females, is that if your goal, you want to be healthy, but you also want to look good, then weight can be a guide, but it doesn't necessarily, it might not be best to have that as the be-all, end-all of the goal.
Right.
Yeah, like the goal is only met when you weigh X. It's better to say the goal is met when I look and feel good, and that's hard to put like a concrete feeling. Like you're not going to wake up one day and just be like, "Oh, I'm here."
Yeah.
it's a slow build. It's a slow build to that.
We'd probably. I mean, you don't. You want to be heavier,
I would like to be bigger if it doesn't involve me gaining body fat.
right?
So like right now I weigh somewhere between 288 and 292, depending on how much I eat that day.
Right.
And I always wanted, when I was 16 years old reading bodybuilder magazines, I always thought it would be cool to have 20-inch arms and weigh 300 pounds.
You're almost there.
Yeah, so I've been as heavy as 295, but I felt like a fat marshmallow. So I didn't actually push to 300 because I didn't want to achieve it that way.
Right.
So I ended up cutting down, and it's been several years since then, actually probably 10 plus years. And now I'm actually back to being close to it, but I still just don't want to hog out on pizza over the weekend and hit 300. But
That's a fake 300.
yes,
That's not muscle.
yes.
That's just
I want it to
weight.
be lean. But at the same time, is if this is the heaviest I ever was, and from here on out I kind of like
It's all the
got
leanest you've ever
leaner,
been.
lost body weight, and focused more on longevity, would I be happy with my outcome even though I didn't hit 300? Yeah, because I'm still a 165-pound kid who somehow made it to 290 pounds. It's still an enormous accomplishment, even without that number being obtained.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's been. Plus, I don't know how much my boobs weigh.
Well, that's funny to add.
That's a new
Yes.
element to the scale.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, I mean, that's fun to talk about. Like, that's just a truth aspect.
Yeah. So the weight is different, and I never weighed them before to know.
Yeah, we'll have to put them on a scale.
Oh.
Yes. So before this gets derailed, but that's a good thing. So we saw weight change in a positive manner, but we knew that aesthetics were improving anyhow.
Oh yeah.
And then another thing you mentioned was start talking about step count. So we bought a pedometer because we want to start adding that to our data points.
An old school one.
Yes, it's the cheapo.
$14
Yes.
off Amazon.
But it works.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's
Yeah.
really easy. It's only steps. I don't have to navigate and click, and it's just I just want this one number. I want to see where I am. I don't want text messages when I'm also trying to look at my step count. I just want the number.
Yeah, and that can be helpful
It was
because when you think about what contributes towards our calories that we can use, so we're controlling calories we consume with as precision as we can get, and then we are going to try to control calories we're outputting. So we know basal metabolic rate, which is how many calories you burn just by being alive. So if you were to lay in bed, do nothing, your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, is roughly 50 to 70% of your total calorie usage. Then we have thermic effective food, which is how many
Right.
calories you burn eating the food you eat. Higher protein diets tend to have a higher thermic effective food,
Correct.
and that's just because protein requires the most amount of calories to break down. Then we have what's called NEAT, which is non-exercise thermogenic activity, or what did I have that? Yeah, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. There we go. And that is the calories you burn by being fidgety or just normal activity. So if you're a person who doesn't sit very long and you're just up and active and you move, the way in which you would kind of distinguish that from exercise is NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, is unconscious decision movement. So you don't even know you're doing it. You just happen to be a person who moves a lot or a person who doesn't, a person who fidgets a lot or a person who doesn't. That is a contributor towards exercise, towards calorie usage. So BMR, thermic effective food, and non-exercise activity thermogenesis are things you can modify to a very small degree. The big thing we modify is exercise activity, and we want to normalize and control that. So the more consistent we are with that, it then gives us a more consistent outcome based on what we eat. How to make that more consistent, finally bringing it home, is we have our weight training, but we also have daily step count.
Yes.
So if somebody moves 2,000 steps one day versus 8,000 steps another day, that's variable. Just like we don't want to have too much variableness in our caloric intake, we want to control the variableness in our exercise activity. So having a pedometer is going to allow us to track and see what your typical movement is, and then we can modify that if we need to through calorie use and modifying our weight training.
Right, and we talked about it too. So there's a lot of folks try to get to, what is it, 10,000 steps?
10,000 steps is the typical recommendation for quote-unquote health, which is fantastic to unpack.
You say that.
Yes.
You have opinions because I see your face.
Yes. We'll save that maybe for another podcast. But in general, it's... Yeah. So
Don't even go there. I hear
yes.
you.
So it's a number that people throw out there.
Right.
And it would be interesting to see data analysis across mass population as to whether that number has significant determination to the quote-unquote healthiness of someone.
Yeah. And I talked to Rob. I said, to walk 5,000 steps is maybe 50 calories? Maybe? We don't know.
It depends on a person's body
depends.
weight, muscle mass, all these fun things.
Right. And I thought, okay, so 50 calories, is that impactful? And it's wild to think that even just a couple extra thousand steps a day over the next 21 weeks could put you over that edge just a little bit more.
Yeah,
It's
a fun
wild.
example would be there are calorie calculators you can use to determine an estimate of how many calories somebody burns from walking. And you and I would be a fun example of that. Is 290
The
pounds.
difference between the two of us walking?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
So my caloric usage for, say, 10,000 versus 5,000 steps a day is significant enough to absolutely undoubtedly be like almost the equivalent of a meal. So if I were to move 10,000 steps versus 5,000, I can eat a whole nother meal, which maybe helps if I don't feel satiated with my current diet. However, what my struggle was over the years was trying to gain weight. So I actually wanted to minimize my step count so I didn't have to eat so much damn food. So step count can be significant enough in caloric usage that it can play a role in the process. So therefore it is helpful to control.
Yeah.
But it's more impactful the heavier you are, the more muscle mass you have compared to somebody who's lighter body weight.
Right. And I was actually surprised to see how many steps I took. So that'll be a really fun metric to track.
Yeah, and we'll
see what
just
I can
kind
get
of
up
fill
to.
everybody in along the way how
Yeah.
we end up using that.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, we just knew it was a variable that if we didn't control the data of, it could have an impact. And why would we not
Maybe we
control
would-
everything that has an
Yeah,
impact?
maybe we wouldn't even know.
Yeah, exactly. So, the other thing you mentioned that we were traveling this week.
Yep.
Yep. So, what challenges has traveling created in your week?
Okay, first one is we needed to pack all my food that I was going to eat in the day at the beginning for an 11-hour drive.
Yes.
And that included drinks, and I remember at one point doing food math.
Yes.
Okay, we have 7 hours left, but I have 3 meals, or I have 1 meal and 2 snacks, and then I have 3 hours and then it's if I have the pasta now, when will I be hungry again? Because I know that'll burn off in 3 hours. But if I go to bed, what am I going to want right closer to bed? And it was an interesting.
Yeah.
I thought, ooh, I haven't done this in a while.
Yes, you were saying
Right?
I haven't done this kind of food math.
I haven't. So
Yeah, what was your fear? Your fear was to run out of food too early and then be really freaking hungry.
I was afraid I would eat all of my food by around 6 or 7,
Yes.
and say, okay, what do I do when I go to bed at 2? What am I going to do?
Yeah, and that's a real quick, kind of guide would be, we talk with our clients about time blocks, and if you divide your day into, you typically sleep 6 to 8 hours, so you're awake for 16 to 18 hours in a day. You can divide your day into 3 6-hour blocks. So you have the first 6 hours of being awake, the middle 6 hours of being awake, the final 6 hours of being awake. So the first 1/3 of being awake, you would have 1/3 of your calories and protein. The middle 1/3, you'd have 1/3 of your calories and protein. The final 1/3 of the day, 1/3 of your calories and protein. So if you notice, okay, I'm in the middle third of my day, and I'm about to finish all of my food.
Something's
I'm
wrong.
probably eating too fast.
Right.
Yes. So trying to space things out where you have 1/3 of your calories and protein per 6 hours of the day
Right.
can help give a guide as to whether you're eating too quickly or too slowly.
Right. Another challenge is not knowing what the exact foods are going to be in the evenings.
Yeah, so we knew the food we had on travel day,
Oh, yes.
but then we didn't know the food
No.
specifically when you were here on campus.
Right. I knew what I was going to have for breakfast. Lunch is pretty consistent. Dinner is not always consistent.
Yeah, what are the consistencies, and then what is the inconsistencies?
So far, this class weekend, I had for breakfast 2 RX bars in the morning.
Okay.
So that's been really nice. I really enjoy that they have those now.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 RX bars and just, 4 strawberries, 5 strawberries, something like
Yeah,
that.
not even 100 calories of fruit.
No.
Yeah.
And then lunch is a palm full of, not like I reach in and grab with my hand, but a palm size amount of
Yes.
chicken. There's I can say nearly always a rice of any kind,
Mm-hmm.
and then some veggies. And that's been consistent every day. I haven't had to worry about that or have food anxiety about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the snacks, we packed cheese sticks from home for the week.
Yeah.
So I have 3 cheese sticks during the classes, during the class periods. But the dinner, it's like I don't know what kind of meat it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still good, and it works. But what was it? It was one night I didn't get enough protein, and I felt it for like hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, okay, well, I don't have anything now, but it was still like class period till 9:15 at night. So I thought, I don't have anything, and I didn't eat enough protein. There's no snack. There's food to eat, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to blow my diet.
Yeah, it wouldn't be food we would have wanted.
I can help myself wait an hour.
Yes.
But that was a challenge because it thought, oh, normally I could just, if I'm just maintaining my weight, I can go have some peanut M&Ms. It's fine.
Yeah, you just monitor typical caloric
Right.
intake. Yeah.
So that was a challenge. So I was able to plan better today.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? What is the other?
I think one thing that's consistent that like the listeners could use is the concept of a meat, carb, and vegetable for a
Absolutely.
meal. A meat, something about the size of your fist. Carb serving about the size of your fist, and then you fill the rest of the plate with vegetables to whatever degree you're hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So carbs could be pasta, potatoes, rice, beans, blah blah blah. Things that provide a significant amount of carbs. And that would be a couple hundred calories for like a fistful. Whereas if you have, celery, carrots, broccoli, like typical vegetables, a fistful is not even close to 100 calories. So
Right.
those are good more for like volume filler.
Right.
So when people have foods available, having a meat the size of your fist, carb source the size of your fist, fill the rest of the plate with vegetables is a general approach that would
Right.
work pretty well.
And
for
it
most people.
works. And I mean, give or take, that's why we say calorie ranges are so good, because
Yes.
I was maybe within 150 calories each of these days.
Oh yeah, and that's accurate
Totally
enough.
fine.
That's accurate
and
enough.
that's accurate enough to make progress. So
Absolutely.
I'm comfortable with it. Normally, at last prep, I would have freaked out. I would have popped out my pocket food scale and looked really cool and made a lot of friends.
Yes. And sometimes it's just really not feasible.
It's impossible.
But I think
sometimes.
what's helpful to people to hear is a lot of times people approach calories with a singular number in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not necessary. No. You could have a variance easily plus or minus probably 10%.
Easy.
And
you'll be fine.
That would be totally fine for maintaining body weight.
Because a lot of people overestimate and underestimate. They'll underestimate what they're eating constantly.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there's studies that prove that.
It's like, trust me, in the 10%, you're doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Right? And there's actually, like I was listening to something today, that food labels are allotted actually up to 20% of variance in their numbers.
Isn't that wild?
Yes,
and
I knew that before, but it just reminded me because I was listening to it today. And it's just due to the natural variance of specific foods. Mm-hmm. The FDA said, okay, hey, listen, as long as you're within 20%, plus or minus 20%, mm-hmm. so if something says it's 100 calories, it could be anywhere from 80 to 120.
Right.
So we know that there's natural variance already, and then the reason why it's still important to track is because you want to narrow that variance as much as possible.
Right.
But there is a variance that is allowable to still make progress.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. What was I going to say? Something about the... I don't know. Lost me. Just floated away.
Yeah. Well, I think with traveling, like some of the good things are is we brought some foods that we're familiar with. Cheese sticks. We brought core powers.
Yep.
We brought some bobos.
Yep.
So you brought some food that we could, if we were flying on a plane, maybe we'd take protein powder.
Yeah.
And then add water later so we don't get in trouble and get that confiscated.
Right.
But taking protein items, if you notice the items we brought, well, exclusive of the bobos, they're more carbs.
Yeah.
But cheese sticks are protein, core powers protein. Yeah. That's going to be the thing that people typically are going to fall short of when traveling is protein.
So it's so unfortunately easy to undereat protein.
Absolutely.
It's either not good quality protein, or it's not a good cut, or it's not available.
Yes. And it's actually a little bit harder to eat protein. I think we naturally crave energy easily.
Because
go ahead.
I was going to say the other night I was still behind. I was behind in calories and protein.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because there was no RX bar at night. It was 9:15.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm not going to blow my diet. What do we do? We went
and
to
they
the
only have
store.
diced ham. You're not going to eat like a pound of diced ham.
I know, that's what I said. I looked at I was like, I just don't want hard-boiled eggs.
Yes. Yeah, we could have eaten
9:45.
a couple hard-boiled eggs, but that doesn't sound too fun.
Well, and especially out of the package, those are just pasty.
And it's not necessary. Like, thankfully, we found some other options.
True, it's not
if it was necessary and that was the only thing you had, you would have
would
eaten
do
some
it.
eggs.
I would have done it.
Yes.
Of course. Right.
Yeah.
But that was a fun little exercise.
Oh, yeah. And then I made a podcast just a couple podcasts ago. It would be podcast 2040, so 3 ago. Mm-hmm. Talks about we actually walked around the little convenience store at Hyatt and tried to find a good calorie and protein food item.
Right,
so,
and there was only one.
Yes. So shout out to Kind.
Shout out to Kind.
Yeah,
Kind
they made a protein-rich bar that was labeled as made with real food.
Good thing.
So that's healthy. God knows what else the other ones are made of. But that process we talked about in podcast 2040, so you can learn a little bit more about how to eat on the go and follow your diet even while traveling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, how about training when traveling?
The gym here was 79 degrees.
It
Indoors.
was horrendous.
Indoors.
Yes, and there were other people with squeaky shoes. And if Meredith's eyes could murder someone, she would be in jail today because you murdered that man with your eyes. He was so squeaky.
It was like a basketball game.
Yes.
In a 10 by 10 room.
With no basketball. And we weren't playing no games.
No.
But yeah, so the hotel was it had some weights in it.
Yeah. I was like, we gotta power through.
Yes.
I gotta get out of the squeak.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Gotta get out of the squeak.
Get out of the squeak. But maybe we'll go now for a bit.
Yeah. So we fit it in between things when we can.
Yeah.
And then
trade-offs.
What's the trade-offs?
It's knowing, okay, I could do something, but this is a priority now, and I'll fit things around it and outside of it.
Yeah, kind of like reordering your activities based on priorities. Mm-hmm. So importance versus urgency.
Right.
So take care of things that are important, not necessarily things that are urgent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because those two aren't always the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I might not have, like, I didn't do that the first prep I did.
What's an example of that?
I don't know. I just remember, like, it's okay, I don't have my food. I'm not going to go to the grocery store and get a roast chicken. I'm right here, Vitamin Shop's right here. I'm going to go in, I'm going to get a protein bar. Maybe it has more carbs, a little more fat than I needed. And so there were just some things I didn't make a concession for.
Okay.
Or you miss a session because last minute call to go do something, you do it, and you live life.
Was it too much people pleasing?
Maybe a little bit, but remember my first show, that was I tried to get out of some of that people pleasing tactics.
So it was maybe
bit.
just first time practice, still new to practicing, reorganizing things based on prioritizations.
And it was doing a prep for the very first time and just not knowing what it should feel like.
That's true.
I hadn't been on stage before to know what kind of mind games do you play with yourself.
Meaning, like, if you shortcut anything, you will hate yourself the day of the show for every single shortcut.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. It's true.
It's not a good feeling.
No, and that's it's interesting because to some degree it's good to have felt that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because then you become more aware of the importance of following through with things. So whether you feel it as a child for various reasons or a first-time contest prep, sometimes feeling the pain of poor decision-making is helpful because then it prevents poor decision-making for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
And someone asked me, it was either yesterday or 2 days ago, just this also feels like one really long day.
Yes.
They asked if it almost kind of like, is it for bragging rights?
Oh, if you're doing the show for bragging rights or not.
I said that's actually an interesting question, but I did the show alone, the first time, basically. So I would say it isn't about that.
Mm-hmm.
I like it if I can inspire others or if it allows someone to say, you know what, I'm going to finally do it. If they can do that with that schedule, maybe I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And my answer was, it's more about refining your discipline. It's like sharpening a knife. You've been using the knife for 6 years. You got to sharpen the blade.
Feels a little dull.
Yeah. So that the not short of discipline, I'll say that.
No, you're definitely not.
But it's a different kind of discipline that I wanted to do.
Well, I think also as somebody becomes more successful in life, you start to have higher expectations of yourself. Mm-hmm. So then all of a sudden, I think it sensitizes if you feel like you are backsliding or slipping up or staying stagnant. All of a sudden, stagnancy feels like it's failure.
I texted Rob today.
Yeah, the Iron Man. You want to do an Iron Man. And I didn't know. She sent me the date of it, and it was supposed to be for next year.
Yeah.
But it was like in 6 weeks. And my brain immediately thought, well, how the hell am I going to get her ready for an Ironman in 6 weeks? So I was already planning out when we're going to swim, how we're going to get on bike training. I was like, we got to go buy a bike.
Yeah, you're so cute.
Yeah.
You got to learn how to ride a bike? No.
Yeah. But that's your nature. And I texted back to you that that's one of the awesome things about you is you constantly want to see what you can do.
Yeah.
Like test yourself.
I'll try anything twice.
Yeah, which is funny.
Try anything twice.
Yeah. But I love that. Like that's something neat is this could be a lot to unpack.
Okay.
What do you think drives you to uncomfortable things?
Drives me to uncomfortable things?
Like, why would you? Why if someone said, "Lee should do an Ironman," and your brain said, "Sure."
I don't know.
Why?
Before I met you, I had that I wanted to donate my body to science, so they could maybe figure out some of the brain chemistry.
Yes.
And stuff. But now, no. Sorry. Not
Yeah.
sorry. I don't know. That's a really interesting question because I've never not known that.
Okay.
Right?
Just kind of a little bit of like a DNA makeup kind of thing?
Well, I think so. It's the mindset of I want to constantly be better.
Mm-hmm.
I want to improve myself. I want to see if I can do something. I want to try it. It's uncomfortable. Let me do it.
It's interesting.
And
it's an interesting response.
I at one point I wasn't like that, but I said I want to be that type of person.
Ah, so you kind of made a conscious decision?
Yeah. And that was how I chose like where I taught. And that was why I decided to train for a marathon, and why I decided to, do CrossFit competitions, and why I decided to do a lot of things, right? Just to try it. And that's why I say I'll try anything twice.
That's funny, yeah.
Because maybe the first time I didn't like it, it was a fluke. So let's do it again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think having now done a really hard thing, let's see what the next hard thing is. But I will say Everest is off the table.
Yeah.
But
there's certain things, yeah. Like I think for myself, part of what motivates me to do things, I kind of have two forces that work against each other. So one thing that motivates me is I still remember the version of myself that I hated at 15 years old.
Yeah.
And I don't want to ever be that person again.
Yeah.
Because that person allowed myself to be emotionally, mentally, physically weak to the point where I didn't like my life.
Yeah.
So that person doesn't get to exist anymore. So the second I feel like that person's creeping up, I go pick some crazy, weird, stupid thing to do.
That's a good point.
Because it pushes me to be stay the person who's growing and developing, and stay not that person.
Yeah, and that's a good point, and that's why I said I think I need to do this. I don't feel like me.
Yeah.
I need to get back to doing this.
Yes, that's a good point. And then the thing that counters it is, I'm just flat out tired sometimes. Like, I just need a nap. I just want to take like a week where I don't try to kill myself trying to do something. But I get like a day into it, and then I'm like, you weak piece of crap. You need to get back to doing things.
Piece of shit.
Yeah. So part of me is tired, and I need a nap. And then the other part of me is like,
this is Sparta.
Well, if you take a nap, dude, like, you're going to start
slope.
backsliding. Yeah.
Slippery slope. You take that nap.
So I'm incredibly unhealthy. But I think it's fun to hear.
Iron sharpens iron.
There you go. I don't know if I'm iron, but
maybe
sharp.
some Brillo pad. Steel.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting because if people look at someone, like if you look at David Goggins,
okay,
and you're like, that dude is just like, he's on a whole nother level. Like, those people are built that way. I'm not built that way, so therefore I'm always going to be a failure. Right. People have that perspective.
Yeah.
But if you read David Goggins' book, like Can't Hurt Me, oh man, he was that.
Right?
In his words, he was that lazy piece of shit.
Yeah.
Who sat on the couch and made excuses for everything.
That's why no one, well, you say I was a skinny kid, and they're like, yeah, okay.
Yes.
Until you show them.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting to hear, if you look at someone, like if someone were to look at you and say, oh my gosh, she's got, full-time job on top of like crazy more hours than just 40 hours. You also are in, an EMBA program at Kellogg, and now you're going to do a show like, I couldn't do what she's doing. So like, what would you say to that? You're like,
you can do whatever you want to. And maybe it's a slow go at it. Maybe it's a sprint triathlon, or maybe it's a 5K, or maybe it's just, it's something. There's trade-offs to everything. And if you decide what your prioritization list is and what your priority list is, then that almost helps make the decision for you. And just like calories, protein, right? Plus or minus 10%. Everything that you do in life, plus or minus 10%. You haven't seen your friends in a really long time, go spend some time with them. Yeah. Right? So that balance, establishing a balance.
Yeah,
but
and it's like waves
possible.
of balance. Like, you'll feel it getting a little out of like whack till you push it back in, that kind of thing.
And I'm not saying, disclaimer, I'm not saying if you don't do something at the worst time of your life, you're weak.
Oh, no.
Like, I'm not saying...
Yeah, I'm more looking at it if somebody is wanting to do something.
Right, if they have that desire.
Yeah, they're struggling to believe that they're capable.
Okay, yeah, very different.
Yes. Yeah.
You're capable.
Yeah, I think it's just learning how to start slow and just make some kind of positive momentum. Yeah, and then there was actually a neat component I thought of today, kind of build off of a podcast I was listening to, was you and I are very good at disassociating our feelings versus what we know we should do.
Yes.
So, like, we don't work out whether we feel like it or not. We just work out because we're supposed to.
Right.
We don't eat certain foods because we feel like it or not. We just eat those foods because we're supposed to.
Right.
Like, if I have a goal to,
I got to do the thing to get to the
goal. If you have a goal to get on stage, do a show, well, I got to work out today. We don't ask ourselves, hey, do I feel like working out today?
Yeah, like
matter.
at the bar, just one shot. No. That's going to mess up.
Yeah.
No. Like, why?
Exactly.
No.
So I think learning to disassociate or learning to even just not ask yourself that question.
Right.
Like, don't ask yourself if you feel like working out. The answer's going to be no.
Yeah. 10 years ago, maybe I would have been a people pleaser and said, okay.
True, yeah.
I don't want to be the odd man out. But, okay.
Mm-hmm.
What was I saying? I don't know. I said something today. Maybe it'll come to me. It made me think of a story I wanted to tell you, but I don't remember it now. I'm just tired.
Was somebody pushing you to do something and you said no?
No.
Were you disassociating your feelings for a moment?
Probably, but no.
Well, it comes to your mind, pop it back
I
in.
will.
Yes. So that came from us talking about training and traveling. So
Imagine
believe
that.
it or not, yes.
Yeah.
So one of the things we did was before we left home, we had a very heavy workout to increase the muscle recovery caloric demand.
Yeah.
So therefore, if we couldn't train as heavy later on in the week, we knew we got a heavy one in. Another thing is when we're at home, we train upper body, lower body. When we travel, we kind of train full body. So you just increase the frequency of the body parts, and that can help as well.
Right.
Yes. So we covered quite a bit. If you're looking at the upcoming week, what are your thoughts? What's coming up this week? What do you think? What are you planning for?
More travel.
Yes, we're traveling again.
So just getting the travel home is always tough because we leave later than we do to get here.
Yes.
So we get in really late, and you're tired, and then you're arriving more tired, and then you fit in a full work week in like 2 days, 3 days.
It's pretty rough, yeah.
And then travel again, and then studying for finals, and.
Yeah.
So that's next week.
Yeah, so it'll be a
so we
rough
just
week
gotta
again.
one day at a time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you manage it? One day at a time, one meal at a time.
We kind of we'll kind of talk about what's going on, if there's any appointments the week, work schedule, school schedule, and when is it going to be a morning workout, an afternoon workout? What do meals look like that day? If we know one day isn't going to have a lot of activity, what does the diet look like? And we just try and do a preliminary plan.
Yeah, and I think
then just take it one day at a time.
Yeah, we like having options. We give ourselves options, and I think that's very helpful. The option isn't whether you do it or not; it's just when and how are you going to do it. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's really it. I mean, is it going to be hectic?
Yeah.
But one day at a time.
Yeah, you do what you can.
And it's just planning for that, working out, I have the pedometer now, so just getting steps in and sharpening that discipline.
Yeah. So we've mentioned the book Elastic Habits before.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to mention it again.
Yeah.
Because if people are saying, like, oh, that sounds good to be able to have options, how do I implement that? The book Elastic Habits is a great resource for learning how to create options and then accept when option A doesn't work and you end up having to do option B, C, D, or Z. Or Z.
Or Z.
For the non-American listeners.
True.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good book. Very good book.
You can do it.
Yeah.
And like we say that we're doing this podcast, and who knows, maybe something happens, right? And I can't get on stage then November 9th. Okay.
True.
We just course correct something. But the point is we're trying and we're documenting it so that it's real.
Yes. And your goal of doing the show to resharpen yourself.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
If something were to happen outside of our control, you can't get on stage, you're still right now
I'm still doing
in the
what I
process
want.
of sharpening yourself.
Yeah, it's exactly what I want. So even
Yes.
if I don't get on stage, okay.
Yes.
Rebalanced myself, got back to feeling me, built a better routine.
Yeah.
Great.
And I would think through, like, even in my journey, we tend not to try to remember failures. Like if I set a weight loss goal and I didn't make it, if
I
well,
speak for yourself.
yeah, well, it's kind of like I was speaking for generality. You and I remember our failures a lot. But in failures that I would think of for myself, and you can let me know what you think, is in successful goals, there's a lot to learn. In failed goals, there's a lot to learn.
Right.
So even when things don't work the way you thought or wanted or desired them to, there are still things that are positive. There are still things that can be taken away that can help develop into the next success.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
So an attempt isn't failure. An attempt is automatically success. And then you have to find the lesson in when it doesn't quite go the way you thought.
If you don't win, you learn.
There you go. That's a good phrase.
Yeah. Forget where I heard it.
Yeah.
Or read it.
You can just claim it.
I can't do that. But it's not mine. I know that.
Yes. Awesome.
That's a good one to end on.
I like that. Yes. Okay.
Did we cover all your...
We got all the notes. We got everything that
Get
I
all your
was
points
wanting to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
So,
That's fun. Surviving.
Yes. Made it through the week. Got another busy one to go, but that's life. Actually, I was reading one of the clients' journals today, and they said in the couple weeks when they started the new service, our 101 service, they said that they were a little bummed that for the first couple weeks of the service, they haven't had a normal week. So I wrote back and I was like,
perfect.
I was like, there actually aren't many normal weeks.
Yeah.
I was like, this is actually completely normal.
Yeah.
That it isn't normal.
Yeah.
When we have an idea in our mind of what a normal, like what normal is for us, it's hysterical how rarely that happens. So it's learning to survive in the abnormal and the chaos and not waiting until normal to then seek out success or expect things to be successful. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Enough words of questionable wisdom. So thank you for listening very much. If you have any questions, if you need anything, you can go to our website, www.brutalirongym.com. You can scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and there's a contact form there. You can always send in any questions. Also on the website, we have free nutrition information, free training information, all the different services that we offer. A lot of good stuff on there if you haven't checked it out. And then if you like the podcast, please share the podcast. The more people we share it with, the more people we can help. So that's great. And then if you like the podcast, you can consider donating to support the podcast, which you can do on the website as well. Also, if you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. We just posted a fun video, like we said, that convenience store shopping around trying to find food on Instagram. So definitely check us out on that if you haven't yet. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yes. And then, as always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.